go back again with the tutorial finally on how to register a user. The thing that I have to start off by doing is just changing this user database EDMX file. Basically, we have to add one more value that I forgot about and overlooked. We have to do user name. Okay, and then from here you simply do as you did before, generate database from model, and then once it's done you click finish, click yes and yes again, and then you simply run this, connect to the system, and it's all done. Okay, so basically what happens now is you have another value within it. Yeah, that's all good and well. So yeah, anyway, basically where we are up to, we're up to this tutorial 5.3, which is hiring a user manager to make sure he has an assistant who's a user finder. What I'm talking about there is it's using object-oriented programming paradigm to solve what is a programming problem. So objects, we've got a user finder object and a user manager object. The user manager has a user finder within it. It's encapsulated within him. Basically, that means, well, yeah, basically, yeah. So we've got two objects declared. One's a user finder, which is its role is to find the users in the database via their email or their username. And then a user manager whose role is more diverse. It's got a user, create the user valid, so checking that what the user's put in is valid, and get the password strength, so the strength of what the password is that they've put in, and changing both the email, the password, logging the user in, and once the user's logging in, there's another method called replace shopping cart. Okay, so this basically, how can I say this? Let's just say hypothetically the user has put in a few items as a guest and then decide, right, I want to log in to get my discount. This basically just puts over all their items into the new cart, and then of course it'll log out. So that's a précis of what this is. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to make a user finder class first because that's within the user manager. So if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to make the user manager anyway. So we'll add another class. User finder, and we'll add a membership system context so we can use that. Copy that and push it in, and then there will be a public get user by email, get user by username. Okay, so these are basically the users, the way that which we can find the user in the system, either by the name or the email. And yeah, that's basically all this is set up to do. So we've now finished the user finder. Yeah, so that's it for that. And then finally we go on and make the other class called the user manager. So here we go. So user manager, and then from here we need to have another context. Okay, so that's a context, and that's the user finder which we had declared and created earlier. So that's why we had to make it then. And then finally we have this create user method. This returns a string. Basically, this is more about finding the errors of what's wrong within the class of what they've put in. If it always is going to return something, but basically, if it's not, if the error is equal to 0, then it returns this and it's true, basically, and the user's put in everything fine, so they can be registered and so forth. Sorry, if it comes down here, it means it's false and they've got errors. So anyway, let's go on to this. We have two methods here: log in, and user valid. So we'll just right now you should have really a couple of errors, more or less relating to password strength method and replace the old card. Okay, so these two other methods, but I'll just explain what is happening here. So the user logs in, they have the username and the password. The user is created by using the UserFind object, which is actually the user finder, and get user by name, the username. If something is returned, so if it's not equal to null and the user's password is password, this is run, which is basically creating a session objects, three of which one is the user ID, one is the type, and one is the name. And then we create a shopping cart. And basically this is done by, if there is a shopping cart session equals null, we just create the shopping cart. But if there is, if there is not a shopping cart, we just simply create a normal shopping cart. Otherwise, we have to run the replace shopping cart, which returns a shopping cart, which basically is a method which I told you about before that adds each of the current shopping cart items into a new shopping cart, which is created according to their membership level. So yeah, basically that's the login explained, and this is just explaining basically the user valid. So if all the information is already there, so if it checks here if there is already a user with that name, or if there's a user with that email, and then the secure answer and the secure question, they have to be different. So if they've just written I like fish and chips in both, then that's not going to be acceptable. I just added that because I felt that it was something that, if someone's lazy, they might do it, and you don't know how that's going to affect it. And then finally, errors where, and it goes through each, is not null or white space. So, in other words, and then distinct, so it gets rid of what isn't just one line, and then to string. So you see a lot of these are returning nulls, or it is a string. So this will get rid of all those nulls and save. It'll cut down on what's in there, so it's only might be no errors and so forth. Okay, so yeah, I've gone on enough about that. So get password strength. This is okay, here we are. So get the password strength. So here we are now. Okay, password strength, right. So this creates a string with a called level, number amount if it has a symbol amount. So if it's got like question mark or a percentage sign or so forth, how many of them it counts and how many numbers it has. If it has a number, so it has to have the number. If it has a symbol, if it has multiple symbols, so more than one in other words. Okay, so from here, letters, So that means, okay, so this is a array of letters, which is just splitting up the password, and then from there, the string length has to be over 7. And otherwise it'll tell them you need 8 characters. And then for each character in letters, so in other words each chart, if it is not a letter and is a digit, has number equals true and number amount equals that, and so forth. And then so it figures out if it's a letter or is it a digit, or if it has a symbol. But yeah. Anyway, so here we are. Has a symbol. It's going to be true if the symbol amount is higher than 2. The level. Okay. So if this goes into adding to the string. So if has number is true, you don't add anything. If has symbol is true, nothing. You has multiple things, add null. Okay. So return basically the string to the thing. Okay, so you add the range and that, and it, sorry, I'm going to explain this wrong. So get password string, okay, sorry. Yeah, so if the count of everything's returned is higher than 0, you need to add that, otherwise you just add null. That's just using this where the null, or I suppose, so that might return null, this whole method here. I hope you followed that. I may not have explained that as well as what I could have. Okay. Okay, now there's just these 3 methods, which are changing the email, changing the password, and logging out. Okay, so basically what they both are change email and change password, finds the user by name, the user email equals email, so what's been passed in, or password, then saves the changes. Fairly simple. The logout, it clears all these sessions that we got here. Like you delete all those, basically, that's all that happens. Okay, and finally we have to do the replace shopping cart, which is here. This might sound complicated, but it's not really. Basically, you hand in the shopping cart that you have already, and you say what member privilege the person has, and then you run this method to create the shopping cart with the method of which they have now. And then for each of the items in the shopping cart, you add it to the new cart and then return the new cart. So that's pretty well how it all works. Yeah, that is fairly much what we have to go on for today. And in order to register the people. The next tutorial is basically on the register page and how to use that. So yeah, look forward to telling you that next time. The next 2 tutorials are quite quick. So I'll see you then.